Hey guys, welcome to my new video on the three main Stoic sayings, and this one is the Amor Fati. This is a second installment in the three-part series. I am the Disabled Stoic, and let's get right into the video. What does Amor Fati means? Well, the name Fati, the word Fati suggests that you love fat people, right? No, it means a love of fate. It seems a bit harsh and hard, loving and embracing everything that happens, but it's practical. It doesn't mean you love it when someone dies, for example. It means that if you can't change what has happened, there's no point hating it. That only hurts you. It means that you accept that it has happened and you can move on and learn from it and better yourself from it, rather than being in a strop moping and being in a pity party about it. When you embrace it, it makes you a better person, because you learn that all outcomes, if you can't control them, you can learn from them practically instead of getting over emotional about them. So why apply it to your life? Well, it teaches you to think deeply about different outcomes and find the positives to better yourself. Although this can seem hard at times, it is definitely possible. It teaches you how to stop the pity parties and do something, rather than moping about, rather than getting people to feel sorry for you every time something bad happens. You need to do something about it yourself. It helps you to think logically rather than too emotional about situations. Most time emotion just gets us in more trouble and hurts us more, but logic, although it can seem harsh, is the right way to go. It helps you to appreciate all outcomes and recognise what you can and can't control. More on control in separate videos. It's hard to do. Of course it is. You get injured, let's say, and now you're bedbound and can't do things you used to be able to. But one positive is this gives you more time to learn new skills, have time to yourself, and do what you want to do, rather than feeling sorry for itself for being injured and bedbound. Because of my disability, cerebral palsy, I need to rest often, more than able-bodied people. It's shit at times, not gonna lie, when I miss out. But I use my rest time to catch up on sleep, on work if it's light and not too heavy. Watching YouTube, I catch up on my reading, I play video games, I do all sorts. I just have me time and I use my rest time for me time. There's almost always a positive to every situation. And if there isn't a positive, because sometimes there just isn't, you keep strong and you'll be okay. And you will move on to better things. There's tons of help, such as therapy and philosophy, and even more. Even really harsh outcomes have positives. Let's say a loved one dies. Now, with memento mori, we already have accepted that people die and it's inevitable. But when someone dies, we're often lost and don't see positives. We're lost without them. We don't know what to do. I can list some positives. They lived a good life. Live on and prosper to make them proud. Death and tragedy unites people. This death will reunite you and the people affected by their death. It makes you realise life is short and you can't take things or people for granted. It makes you want to spend more time with the people you love, rather than wasting time arguing over little things. But be realistic about outcomes. Just like being overly pessimistic is bad, so is being overly optimistic. You need to be realistic in life. Pessimism is seeing the worst in everything and believing the worst will always happen. But optimism is the opposite. Believing that the best will happen and seeing the best in everything and everyone. Both are as bad as each other. Pessimism just makes us sad and bitter people, but optimism sets us up for disappointment, because if we see the best in everything, or hope the best will always happen, when it doesn't happen and when we don't get the best out of everything, we'll be disappointed because we expect the best. But realism is a balance between the two, recognising that everyone and everything has flaws, and also recognising the good aspects, but not expecting people and things to be good all the time. Sometimes they're just not. No one's perfect. Be realistic about this stuff. When you're realistic, you recognise that things don't always go your way, and the worst could well happen because it does. But the best could happen too. And working hard increases the chances of a better outcome happening if it is within your control. More on the dichotomy of control in a later video. Being realistic is also recognising that you and everyone around you are not perfect. You will say, do and think things you regret. But it's what you do after that matters, and what people do after that matters. Realism is having no expectation that things will go well or bad, just that an outcome will happen no matter how good or bad it is. So, be realistic and you'll learn to love fate. A quote now. Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Epictetus. Demanding and wishing that things went a different way than they actually did is pointless. It's happened and it's unchangeable. Wishing different is only hurting you. No matter how wishful you are, it ain't going to change. Wishing things happened as they did happen is more realistic. You recognise that you can't change it and are embracing your development from the outcome. Going through life with this mindset will make you more rational and practical when a bad outcome occurs. You're still allowed to experience emotions from a tragic event, however, so don't suppress your emotions. I'm stressing this again, and I always will stress it. Embrace your emotions and use it as a reason to better yourself. Another quote. It's unfortunate that this has happened. No, it's fortunate that this has happened and I've remained unharmed by it. Marcus Aurelius. When a tragic thing happens, it hurts. It just does. But what matters is what we do with that hurt. Lash out at people, or work on ourselves and do everything you can to let that hurt go. You can't always do this by yourself. Sometimes it requires therapy or something like that, or something else. But once you start practicing Amor Fati, you will become less harmed at situations and more logical, not completely unharmed, but less harmed. Practice negative visualization. This exercise seems counterproductive, thinking of the worst possible outcomes of situations. That's called overthinking, right? No. Overthinking is thinking of the worst outcomes and becoming anxious because of it. Negative visualizations negative visualization, and thinking of the worst possible outcome to think logically what you will do in each outcome. This is commonly practiced in cognitive behavioral therapy. So write down the possible outcomes and what you might do in them and why and how you will do them and what you will do after the outcome and how it will make you a better person. Don't do this though if you're not in a controlled environment, such as if you're alone and in a bad mental headspace, as this can lead to a lack of logic and it can lead to you going to some dark places that you don't want to go. Start with doing it either in a professional setting or with a friend or family member, and sometimes having someone to talk to about it can help you. Thank you so much for watching the video, and stay tuned for my next video, an introduction to the 3 main sayings, the Carpe Diem chapter, the last video in the series. Stay stoic.